Everyone, it's Wednesday evening. It's time for weather for Weather Geeks. We finally have some better weather to talk about, at least for a couple of days before pretty unsettled weekend unfolds. We'll talk about the latest trends on that weekend system coming up in this video. But first, a little review of the fact that it is December, and so it's pretty cloudy outside, no surprise. Climatologically speaking, December is our cloudiest month of the year, just barely edging out January and February for total cloud cover. But November is one of our cloudier months as well, and this year it really wasn't. We had an abnormally bright month of November. We're kind of paying the price so far here in December. We've had a lot of clouds since the first of the month, and you'll see that graphically here, putting hundreds on the board really since Friday. Now, of course, we've had some intervals of sun here and there, but for all intents and purposes, it's been a pretty cloudy start to the month of December. Now, temperatures today, once again, struggled a little bit. This is not a crazy cold air mass by any stretch of the imagination, but with the clouds, we're going to see those temperatures struggling to get back to average, at least for the time being. But that'll change again Thursday and Friday. 37 the high today, 32 the low this morning. And we did register a little bit of measurable precipitation at the airport. We had a few flurries around parts of the area, especially during the afternoon. Austintown over to Youngstown, even parts of Trumbull County had a couple of flurries earlier on. Those have pretty much faded away, but I can't rule out maybe a passing flurry as we head through the overnight tonight, and that passing flurry would be triggered by the advancing warm front that is coming east. It's not exactly a heat wave in the middle of the country, but it's distinctly warmer out in the middle of the nation's, out in the nation's midsection, I should say, as compared to around our neck of the woods. And you can really pick out that front when you look at the 24-hour temperature change. It's 15 to 18, almost 20 degrees warmer than the same time yesterday in parts of the upper Mississippi Valley, parts of the Plain States as well. And we're going to see similar numbers around here as we go into our Thursday. So our front lifts through in the morning. It'll be pretty cloudy for a while in the morning, but I do think the afternoon will be brighter, especially late in the afternoon. This will be followed by a few fair weather clouds pushing in for a Thursday night and Friday morning, but by Friday afternoon, we're in great shape. I think it's going to be a gorgeous second half of the day Friday, with the sun warming up into the lower and, in some places, middle 50s. And this will set the stage for a very balmy start to the upcoming weekend. Now, we're going to stop the clock here Saturday morning, and this will be a breezy and balmy start to the weekend. Might there be a shower Saturday? Yes, especially in the afternoon, but a lot of the daylight hours will be just fine on Saturday. It'll be definitely the better half of the weekend to maybe take care of those lights or do anything else involving the outdoors. And I say that because, of course, what's coming our way Saturday night and Sunday is rain, followed by a chance for some snow. And this will actually be quite a bit of rain. Here's a look at our current computer modeling. A lot of this occurring Saturday night into at least the first half of the day Sunday. And, a lot of our modeling is advertising over an inch worth of rain, maybe even an inch and a half worth of rain. This will be followed then by colder air arriving and a chance for some snow. Now, we've been going back and forth a little bit as far as our thoughts on Sunday's transition from rain to snow. When would the colder air arrive? The models have really been doing the windshield wiper effect, going back and forth with this. Today, everything's much, much faster than yesterday as far as the front, the arrival of the colder air, and therefore a changeover to some snow. Now, this is actually still one of our slower models. It's the European model. But taken literally, it would suggest the rain tries to change over to some wet snow probably by about sunset Sunday evening. Now, again, this is a little slow. Some of our other modeling would suggest that we see a little bit of a transition earlier in the day. The question for us when it comes to snow impacts will be the race between the colder air arriving and the moisture still being around. Now, if the cold air really plows in and we still got some moisture around, we can probably wring out some modest accumulations of snow. But if the cold air does not quite line up with the departing moisture, in other words, if the moisture starts pulling away a little too fast before the really colder air really truly settles in, then snowfall amounts locally will be very, very modest and pretty inconsequential. I think there's a better chance of higher snow totals east of I-79. I think places like DuBois, Clarion, Clearfield, State College, Bellefonte, Altoona, Johnstown, and then up towards the Finger Lakes in New York, Rochester, Buffalo, Syracuse, places like that. That might be the sweet spot with this. But at this point, I can't rule out that as far west as our viewing area, late Sunday especially and into Sunday night, we see maybe enough to measure. Maybe a couple of inches, something like that. All speculation at this point. We'll be doing a lot of fine-tuning of that forecast as we get a little bit closer, because as far as snowfall accumulations, there's just too many moving parts right now to really have a to really hone in on that too much, other than saying there's a chance anyway that the second half of Sunday, and especially into Sunday night, there might be enough to measure in parts of our area. There's been some longer range trends towards the cooler side as we go towards the middle of the month. Now, we've been advertising this middle of the month period being pretty mild, but the models over the last couple of days have been kind of shunting a lot of this warmth off to the west. As the subtropical jet stream gets a little more active, it'll be a very active period for parts of the southern U.S., and this is going to keep a lot of this warmth a little farther to the north and west than we originally thought. So while it doesn't look like a cold pattern during the middle of December for us, it maybe isn't as much of a true warm or blowtorch kind of a pattern as it looks like it might have been. I still think, though, that any truly cold, significant cold is going to wait until towards the end of the month and maybe even into January. So super warm, no. Super cold, also no, for at least the middle of December. And there's still some question marks about Christmas to New Year's. I think the pattern will cool off during that time frame. It's just a matter of how much. Is it a cool off back to just typical late December stuff, or is it something more significant than that? The jury is still out on that. We'll talk more about the longer range future editions of Weather for Weather Geeks. Thanks for watching this evening, and have a great rest of your Wednesday night.